Hello, my name is Patrick Holt. I am the head of educational technology at GEMS World Academy Singapore, and today we're going to be discussing cyberbullying and digital drama. Before we begin, just a little bit about who Common Sense Media is. Common Sense Media is committed to making kids the nation's top priority. They are a trusted guide for families, educators, and advocates who help kids thrive in the digital age. They provide resources to harness the power of media and technology and to shape public policy to improve the well-being of every child. So we hear a lot about cyberbullying, but what is it really? Basically, bullying is ongoing harassment meant to bring down someone or elevate the perpetrator. Cyberbullying is the same thing, only using digital tools. It can take a lot of forms that we'll talk about, and kids also experience digital drama that technically isn't bullying, but we can still see it causing a lot of distress. AT&T has created a short film called There's a Soul Behind That Screen that features clips from teen-created films about cyberbullying. Some of the short films are documentary style and some are dramatized. Common Sense has worked with AT&T to create the parent advice content that accompanies the film. This resource will be available to you as a link. We'll watch several clips from the film during the presentation, starting with the teen take on social media and cyberbullying. Let's watch the video.
Social medias that I have are
Snapchat,
Twitter,
Instagram.
I'll edit a couple times. I ask my parents or my friends before I post something, and then the next step is like caption-wise. Gotta get those likes, you know. Social media can be a powerful tool for a lot of people. I also believe that it could be a negative thing.
Something we deal with every day, and I don't think everybody realizes necessarily how much cyberbullying actually goes on.
And I think not a lot of people really realize how prevalent of an issue that it is and how serious it is. Some people, don't even consider cyberbullying real bullying.
The feeling of being bullied on social media is extremely heart-wrenching and extremely embarrassing.
I fear that people are gonna talk bad about me. I'm really scared.
Cyberbullying is our main concern, but digital drama can actually take lots of forms. It's more than saying mean things about a person. In fact, some of the stress a teen can feel about online interactions isn't about bullying, but other kinds of pressure and anxiety. But in general, parents are most concerned with online cruelty. So we'll first talk about some of the forms that can take. First of all, we have flaming. Basically, a heated online argument with lots of insults thrown back and forth. These are instigated by the bully on a regular basis, and the victims retaliate. Threats. Being anonymous makes it easier to threaten violence or other harm when using digital tools. Trolling. The constant stream of negative comments that are generally uninitiated. Then there are slightly subtler and sneakier forms, some of which are meant to be mean and some which are driven by other motivations. Revenge porn. If a teen has shared any nude or suggestive pictures and an ex wants to get back at them for something, the ex will share the pictures far and wide. Subtweeting. Tweeting about someone without adding them, which refers to mentioning them by name or not using their handle. So the victim doesn't necessarily see the mean tweets or can't be sure if they're about him or her. Outing. You tell your friend something personal one day, then you get in a fight. That friend reveals everything. Excluding. Often this is unintentional, which means it's not bullying, but when kids post pictures of an event knowing an uninvited person will see the pictures and feel bad, and it does it more than once, that's bullying. It can also mean unfriending them. Pressuring or smothering. This can take lots of forms. Pressuring for sexy pictures, pressuring for the passcodes to a phone, pressuring to be in constant contact, etc., and on and on. Impersonating, hacking or spying, making a fake account in someone else's name. Rumors. They've always existed, but digital forums make it easier to spread them to more people. There's been quite a bit of research in recent years around cyberbullying, but statistics vary widely in both directions. What we can take away from the wide range of reporting is it doesn't happen to every kid, but minor types are probably underreported because kids aren't in major distress and don't think of it as cyberbullying. In-person bullying is still more common. However, despite the low prevalence, when it's a serious case, it's high impact. One embarrassing picture sent to a lot of people can have real negative consequences on a kid's life, and they can potentially be everlasting. The consequences of cyberbullying can vary widely depending on a lot of different factors. For some kids, it's just a bummer, but they bounce back quickly. For others, it's really hard in the moment and impactful, but quickly becomes just a bad memory.
I got cyberbullied in the beginning of 10th grade, and this girl was posting anonymous comments on my pictures saying how I was ugly and fat, and she would send me texts about how she saw me in the hallway and I didn't look good that day, or something about my appearance, and she always had a nasty comment to say.
I always get body shamed for being thick or being too big. It's so easy to send a photo of yourself. You know, you might trust somebody, but end up not being a trustworthy person. Even if it's behind their back, it's still cyberbullying. It's hurtful.
One time I posted a picture and I got it was oh, you're totally gay. That's so gay. And it was okay. And then they kept commenting.
I was FaceTiming her and maybe something that I shouldn't have been. And she took a screenshot of me and sent it to a bunch of people at my school.
I felt hurt at first because when somebody's saying a bunch of mean things to you, it kind of gets to you, even though you're taught not to worry about everybody else's opinion.
I started questioning whether or not I should even keep my social media accounts because all of this negativity is just held within it.
Last year, I didn't want to go to school because of a person saying things online.
I didn't even want to go outside. Oh, I didn't want to spend time with friends because I thought I was fat, or so yeah.
For others, it's still totally devastating.
I've seen people fall from cyberbullying. They've either just gave up on their lives, they lost their will to live, or they just got into drugs or alcohol. You can think about cyberbullying into a physical form. If you tear a paper in half, you can't make that paper whole again. You can tape it together, but will it ever be the same? No.
Many people wonder why. Why do kids and teens bully each other online? For all of the same reasons that both adults and kids have always bullied each other. To gain positive attention and social standing. To feel powerful. Because they're angry at a friend? Because they meant to tease and it got too serious? Because they were in fact bullied. Sometimes kids begin by teasing each other and it just begins to ramp up. Also, since tween and teen friendships sometimes flip quickly, hurt feelings can spur on cyberbullying. Often bullying comes from a place of pain, powerlessness, and insecurity, though it doesn't look like that on the surface. Kids who are reacting in anger may intend to hurt someone, but sometimes bullies aren't focused at all on the pain they're causing and mostly motivated by the acceptance and power that bullying might cause. So how is online bullying different? Well, a few reasons. Disinhibition is the sense of being anonymous and disconnected from others' feelings that allows someone to behave in a way that they may not face to face. Certainly, in-person bullying is still a problem, but for most people, it's much easier to be mean from behind a screen when you're not looking someone in the eye. It's not limited to the hallway or a bus stop. Now kids can comment, text, subtweet, screenshot, and impersonate on a lot of different platforms, so it feels like there's no escape. Also, the reach is much wider, so someone can send an embarrassing screenshot to 50 people in less than a minute and not see the impact on the victim. The way we communicate online takes many forms, and people like to one-up each other with memes, jokes, and comments. It can be easy to get lost in the banter and lose sight of the person who's actually being bullied.
With social media so present in teenage life, adolescent humor has started to mimic the humor of the internet. Memes and internet battles have a certain flair for making fun of things. These takedowns involve a winner and a victim. Often the winner is congratulated and acknowledged on the internet for being a savage or something else along the lines of a king, because these winners are so rewarded for being clever, ironic, or just plain mean. More people are motivated to take aim at someone in hopes of being crowned a savage. To take someone down is often called roasting. People rarely shut down the roaster, even if they cross the line to hurtful, because they are either scared of being roasted themselves or being seen as dull. When it becomes a recurring instance or joke like a meme, it is hard for the roastee to escape, and the roaster, who is really a bully, is praised.
Anyone and everyone can be a target of cyberbullying in any of its forms. Research shows white and Latina girls are most often targets, and that's in the United States. In our international community, it could be much different. However, there are groups that are more targeted both for in-person and cyberbullying. LGBTQ kids, kids with disabilities and/or learning differences, kids who are foreign-born. Clothes and general awkwardness are reasons reported by teens as well. So how do you know that it's happening to your kid? First, let's talk about what a typical tween or teen might be experiencing to set a baseline for what's normal and what's outside the norm. Of course, there's a lot of variation and you know your kid the best, so these are just some overall generalities. The Common Sense Media site outlines what's happening for kids at certain ages based on child developmental research. Here are some characteristics or preoccupations you might see as your child hits puberty and beyond. Popularity and pecking order. They're always worried about social status. There's a growing independence with your child, and they're distancing themselves from their family. They can seem secretive and rebellious. Concern about appearance, especially in the eyes of their peers. What other kids think about them is really important. Strong and swinging emotions. Hormonal changes can cause big feelings and quick changes in them. Exploration of sexual identity. Desire to learn about, explore, and take on sexual identities. Trying on different identities. Playing with their social roles, their interests, and their beliefs. Lack of consideration for consequences. Biologically less able to consider consequences of actions and more likely to take risks and feel invincible. What's tricky for parents is that the signs of cyberbullying can overlap with what's considered normal behavior for this age group. Kids withdraw and become more secretive. They're more emotional and volatile. Their behavior and identity can shift. So it can be hard to guess what's happening for your kid if they won't tell you. One clue is that they're either glued to a device in an even more obsessive way than normal and full of angst around it, or they suddenly stop using their phones and try to avoid being online. Another is how long it lasts. If your kid stays upset, anxious, and withdrawn over the course of a few days, something's probably happening. While it may not be cyberbullying, it's a good time to ask. While it can be tricky to tell what's actually happening with your teen, these behaviors fall outside of typical development and require professional intervention. They are as follows. Self-harm, cutting, burning, or otherwise inflicting harm on self. Suicidal thoughts and ideation. Talking or writing about or referring to suicide or having a plan of how to do it. Total withdrawal. quits activities, won't see friends, won't talk or share with family, and stays isolated. In Singapore, there's a few resources that you can reach out and use. Tinkle Friend, which is Singapore's Children's Society, 1-800-274-4788. This is mostly for primary kids. There is simply the helpline, which is for 12 to 25-year-olds, available at www.limitless.sg/talk. And Touch Cyber Wellness, 6242-6925. This resource is focused strictly on digital issues, gaming, bullying, etc. So, what can we do? First things first. If it's not happening to your kid right this minute, you can work on preventing it, or at least fostering good communication and strategies if it ever does occur. Kids start bullying behavior young, so start talking about it earlier, ideally before a kid has a cell phone. Encourage empathy early and often. Try to help your kids see others' perspectives and understand others' feelings. As your kid goes online more often, talk through potential scenarios and strategies. What can cyberbullying look like? What information, content should they keep offline? Think, should my parents see it? Should the police see it? Should my principal see it? How do they block someone on different platforms? How do they take screenshots on different devices? When is it time to get adult help? Stay involved. It can be tempting to stay out of a kid's digital life because that's what they'd prefer, and it's not always easy to stay involved, but spot checks and check-ins can set the stage for more open communication later. Set limits. Having a family plan around device-free times and zones, as well as rules around use, not only keeps you all on the same page, but can also help make sure the conversation around being online is ongoing and open. Model digital citizenship. Start asking your kid if it's okay to post pictures of them, so maybe they'll do the same with their friends. Be kind online yourself. Digital citizenship curriculum. Many schools address online behavior, and we at GEMS World Academy are going to be using Common Sense Media as our go-to resource. You are also able to access their curriculum online at the Common Sense Media website, which you will see at the end of this presentation. Two things I'd like to emphasize: model positive digital use and communication, and most importantly, do not demonize the digital space, because this space is real for our children. If cyberbullying does happen, sometimes kids handle it themselves or with the support of peers. Sometimes they even opt to take a device break on their own until things blow over. If your kid is taking the lead and shows interest in having a fun family day or time offline, be ready to jump on the opportunity. It could be they're trying to avoid drama. But overall, in order to best support your kid, it's important to stay engaged and involved in their online lives to some extent. It doesn't mean you need to fully monitor or spy, but it does mean asking questions, checking things out, and checking in with your kid regularly. It's also important to be empathetic and really try to put yourself in their shoes. Sometimes parents will tell kids to ignore it or just to turn off their devices for a while, but that's often not realistic or helpful, since so much of a kid's social life takes place online. Leading with empathy and compassion first may help a teen come to the conclusion that they can take a device break or find some other constructive way to handle it. Often teens just need an understanding ear to feel better, and if it turns out they need more intervention, it's still a good place to start. After showing empathy and being encouraging, remind them that even though it might feel like the world is ending and they're alone, it's actually just one moment in their lives, and lots of people who love and support them can put the situation in perspective. Make sure to start with empathy, because leading with encouragement can land as dismissive. Sometimes our tweens and teens seek out another trusted adult to talk to, and that's okay. If they're seeking support from someone you trust, that's a positive step. Sometimes cyberbullying is tied to behavior that you wouldn't be happy about, like sexual activity, sending nude pictures, drinking, or other against-the-rules actions that can make your kid even more reluctant to talk about it. No matter what the circumstances, it's always good for your kid to know that when they're in a dangerous or hurtful situation, their well-being comes first. As with calling for a ride after drinking, we want our kids to be safe first and learn lessons later. So if your kid comes to you for help because a sexy picture got passed around, try to put anger, shock, and outrage aside and step into support mode. Listen, don't judge. It's likely that whatever natural consequences they're facing will be enough of a lesson, but when the worst is over, then it's a good time to reinforce limits. If your kid is being accused, try to reserve judgment. We never want to believe our kids can be mean, but if they hurt someone, accidentally or on purpose, we don't want to jump to their defense out of the gate. If your kid comes to you or you find out about a situation, avoid jumping on the phone to another parent or the school. Lead with an attentive ear to see if intervention is necessary. Often, kids figure it out on their own with friends, and it results in a better solution. If your kid's safety is in question, the harassment is pervasive and overwhelming, their overall well-being is in jeopardy, and or your kid asks you to intervene, then it's time to step in. Make sure your kid is blocking and reporting online. Though they may want to be able to monitor what someone is saying, and it's easy for the bully to make new accounts, it's still worth using the block and report features in the platforms where the bullying is happening. Tell them not to retaliate. It only adds fuel to the fire. They will stand up for themselves, but they can stand up for themselves, but in a more constructive way. Gather evidence. Take screenshots, get names, and take pictures of text threads, etc., things like that. Involve the necessary parties to shut it down. Sometimes face-to-face mediation between bully and victim can resolve matters. School personnel will often step in if the bullying is happening during school hours and or on campus. The most powerful tool we have to combat cyberbullying is upstanding, or when kids stand up to the bully and stand up for each other, it is also known as cyberback. Though it's necessary for adults to step in sometimes, tweens and teens taking care of each other is truly the best way to combat cyberbullying. If there's little social reward for the bully and pushback from other peers, it's more likely to stop. We can encourage kids to have each other's backs and remind each other how a post, comment, or shared picture might affect someone else. Creating a positive community and having an ongoing conversation can go a long way. Here at GEMS World Academy, we have created the I Participate Responsible Use Agreement. We believe in safety online, respectful behavior online, honesty with the content we use online, and a general responsible attitude. This is the basis of the culture that we have established to build a strong digital community. Common Sense Media has tons of resources to support you. You can visit their online site to get more information. It's full of free content. It includes reviews, parent advice, and lists of what's been curated so you can find exactly what you need. Don't worry, you've got this. Don't forget that we are all in the same boat trying to navigate through these shifting challenges. In the end, it comes down to parenting basics. There's no right answer, and you know your kid best. Thank you.